the journey of healing for like the whole humanity would be so much faster if people just didn't were not afraid to look into themselves and accept what's happening and be authentic and share what was happening. But I think that's the main like barrier of all of us, just to like get on the next level in very short time.
Hey guys, welcome to our SoulFam Podcast where I interview space holders from all over the world. I am your host, my name is Karolina, and I am the Connection Catalyst. I help spiritual entrepreneurs experience deeper connection with themselves, with others, and with the universe. Today on the show, we have Yana Goncharenko, a woman on the path of empowerment. Welcome to the show, Yana. How are you doing?
Thank you for having me. I'm doing great.
That's
A little
amazing.
bit sleepy. It's early here, but everything is fine.
Yeah, but you have beautiful nature behind you, as I can see. So even though you're sleepy, you're embraced and surrounded by nature. So that should help. Mother Earth is holding you, right? Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
I got a little bit of a block before saying your surname. I thought that I already know how to do it, but now I actually manage, I think. Goncharenko. That's a really interesting surname. But as we spoke before, it's
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah.
Ukrainian surname, so we have some exotic, themes here because you're from Ukraine slash Russia. I'm from Poland, so Slavic blood is on the podcast today, which is great. I love it, and yeah, I would love to start with. Your story and how, because I know that you're doing shadow work and inner child healing, and I do the same, so I'm really excited to dive into these topics with you. I'm doing shadow work for work too. And so how was your story? What has inspired
Uh-huh.
you to do this work? And what was, this tipping point where you decided, okay, this is what I'm gonna do, this is my passion, my mission here. And yeah, what's the story behind it?
Um, I think the story started when I realized that I didn't want to live the life I had. So I was not really happy with where I was. And I saw myself as super clearly a complete copy of my own mother, who really didn't have a good marriage with my dad. And at that time, I also was married myself. So I was like in a very low state, probably depression that you would call it, for a couple of years. I didn't know what to do. I just was home all day watching TV shows and exercising like crazy, and having this crazy diets. Not very happy with my looks and not very social. So I was like deep in the darkness. Um, and then I just decided to leave the United States. I used to live in Washington D.C. And I went to retreat here in Guatemala for a couple of weeks. I decided to go and had one-way ticket, but I stayed for 6 months eventually. It was my first time out of the state since I moved there, and yeah, I didn't want to come back. So that was the start of my process, but I think the path to be who I am right now, into shadow work, into cacao, didn't come right away, because once you realize that your personality that you had before is not what you want to be, and you don't really know yourself because all you were doing is um, having the same personality as your parent, for example, you don't really know who you are. So the second part was like discovering what actually I like, what do I want to do, what are my passions, what are my boundaries, like all of this stuff, and it's still going on. I do things that which I do right now because they help me to heal. But yes, I do shadow work with other people, but maybe it's not even my, like the climax of my passion, of my path. But now I'm just like walking, like Till Swan says, on a breadcrumbs, and every time I find something positive or something that people grateful for what I do, I stick to that and I keep doing it. But I don't think I am in my full expression yet.
So you're still on the path of discovery, and that's great because when you do shadow work, you can actually discover so many different
Hmm.
parts of you that actually maybe want to do completely different things. And then when you integrate them, then you're like, okay, now I know more about myself because yeah, on the path of authenticity and like discovering your soul's purpose, you need to also integrate all these different parts of you so that all their needs are met, right? So yeah, I can completely relate to that. And you
Yes.
know, I've been doing the completion process. I've been a completion process practitioner for the last 3 years. I studied with, I was training with Tilson in Costa Rica actually, and it was actually great. Like the
Oh,
training
that's
was great.
awesome.
Yeah, I loved it. Like Tilson has such a beautiful, powerful energy. She is like my number one spiritual leader that I follow. You know, my mentor in a way. And yeah, and I also feel like, okay, this is great, but I feel like I can still step more into myself and maybe do some other things in my life, not only be, you know, a space holder, but also do other things. So I completely feel you in that. But yeah, it's great to do shadow work, and I feel like if you do it with someone, you can even learn from someone else's like psyche in a way, because if you guide someone through the process, you have such a broad understanding of how the psychology works, how trauma was created, how different things that happen in our life can actually shape our mindset and shape our behavior in a specific way. So I feel like for me, at least, as a CPCP, completion process certified practitioner, it's like I learn through experiencing the traumatic events and doing inner child work with other people, because then I feel like it actually is preparing me a little bit to be a parent because you know I'm gonna be so knowledgeable about,
For
you know, about
sure.
all these things that kids feel when they are in the trauma, when they are in stress, right? And how they perceive the world, because now through through this work you can guide someone there and they're like, oh, this is how the kid saw it or felt it, right? So it's really really valuable, I feel like, for us as
Yeah.
a practitioner to really be able to hold someone in this kind of space and to go there with them. And so what kind of shadow work do you do? What are your favorite methods?
I think I am also a big fan of Till Swan. I found out about her maybe a couple of years ago, and I didn't take it seriously until maybe like July last year, where I started to use cannabis to do my process with my mentor, with like a woman who also does completion process. And then it was like, wow, so deep and so profound, and it really shifted me. But I've been following Teal, and I was watching her video, but didn't really do like, practical work, because that's the most important thing. We think that we integrate through just listening and like remembering. That's what we're taught in school. Um, yeah, so I practice the same thing. I do completion process. I read the book. I'm actually reading now the Anatomy of Loneliness by her. It's very cool. It feels like I know all of that already, all of this video that I watched, that there is nothing new, but it's always something that you discover when you read. So I loving this book right now. I do completion process. I do inner child work as well. Yeah, and it's kind of everyday process. Like once you discover that there is something off, and you cannot even push it away anymore the way you did it before. So it's an everyday thing. Maybe couple times a day I just have to sit with myself and go and like comfort my inner child.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing.
Yeah, I think I do the same thing. I haven't done the completion process training. I wanted to do it, maybe soon. I'm so impressed that you did it. And I met Teal actually in person in Miami, because I went to a synchronization workshop there. And yeah, it was awesome. But I would love to do a training, or maybe go to her retreat one day.
Oh
So we'll
yes.
see.
Oh yes, I would love to go to the curveball retreat. Like I'm just such a big fan of teal. Like I have all kinds of frequency products, in my room and whatever. I'm just like, yeah, a big fan. And so to anyone who listens and doesn't know Teal Swan, check her out. Check her videos on YouTube. They are very informative. But also, I feel like I fell in love with Teal the first time when I saw her in person in Melbourne on the synchronization workshop. And actually, I feel like the videos on YouTube are quite just. How do you say, just straight to the point, just information. But when you meet her in person, it's like she's so funny and so just lovely. So to anyone who feels like, oh, maybe I don't fully resonate with her, go and check
Yes,
her out live, because it's completely different experience, because the videos are meant to inform you about things. But if you actually go for the workshop, especially synchronization workshop or other ones as well, it's just a completely different experience. I highly recommend it. And so maybe actually I would love to touch upon the definition of shadow work. What do you feel like shadow work is for people who maybe listen and maybe they don't know what it means?
okay, let's see. So shadow work is probably the for me is just reconnecting with your subconscious mind, um, integrating and connecting to the parts of yourself that you for some reason have not been aware of. Well, the reason is because we all have to fit in a family first and a society second, all of that. So if the consciousness is everything that there is, so every single person with their own character is something that creates the consciousness. So we are parts of the big consciousness, so we're like a hologram part of the collective consciousness. Then our consciousness is supposed to own all of these different personality that we already have in the world, but we have some kind of resistance to other people, or we sometimes feel that, oh, I cannot do this person is talented, I am not talented. But it's actually not true, because our consciousness is a part of collective, meaning that we also possess all of the same qualities other people possess.
Mm-hmm.
um, so it's like, yeah, it's like integrating and coming to a state of wholeness, I think, to understand that we're all one and all of that stuff.
Yes, I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And also for me, it's just like discovering, as Stilson says, what you don't know that you don't know, right? Because like subconscious is something hidden. It's not conscious, right? It's something that we don't have any idea about until it comes up. So when we are triggered, when we have some kind of automatic emotional reaction to something, this is our shadow, this is our unconscious, this is our program that we operate 95 to 99% of our life on, right? Because our subconscious mind governs our life literally, and it's like 1 million times more powerful than our conscious mind, right? Because subconscious mind processes 40 million bits of data per second, whereas our conscious mind only 40 bits of data per second. So if we can tap into the subconscious and make changes there through shadow work, for example, we can really create the long lasting change in us and in everything, really: behaviors, actions, emotions, filters, beliefs. And so do you also use the parts work as shadow work as well?
Yeah, I do use parts work, but I think it's my least favorite thing to do, because I always yeah, I have some kind of resistance to it, because it feels like it's a more complicated process for me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I feel like it's not complicated
Yeah.
if you do it with someone else who already knows like how to navigate it. Because I think it's actually quite simple. And when we were on a workshop mirror event with Teal, it was like a 3 days event, and she was teaching us how to do parts work. Actually, even people who came there, like, oh, I just came because my wife loved Teal Swan. I don't even know what it is. People who have nothing to do with spirituality at all, they are just working in a normal job and just doing the normal thing, but their wife is all into spirituality, so they just came. Even these kind of people were able to feel into the parts of them and really embody these parts. And so I feel like it is simple if you don't have any mind constructs on your way. You know what I mean? And these mind constructs can
Yeah.
be broken down, because like I feel like, parts work in the way that Tilson teaches it, and in the way that I like to do it too with my clients. Because there are different parts work. Like in NLP, I've done parts work as well, and it's a little bit different process than Tilson does it. But how Tilson does it, and how I like to do it too, is that you are sitting on one chair and you're saying something like, I now take on the part of me that is, for example, angry. And then you sit on this chair and you
Mm-hmm.
fully embody and channel this part of your subconscious mind that feels angry. And then you become this part. You literally like just shut down all the other parts of you, and you just become this one part, and you speak as this part. And I feel like if you do it with the facilitator, it's actually way easier, because someone can ask you questions, someone can guide you and really resolve this
Yeah, yeah,
conflict
exactly.
between the parts. I feel like it might be a little complicated, or maybe not complicated, but it requires practice to do it yourself, because it requires that you know the questions that you answer, so that you can navigate this conflict, right? So I feel like, and then just to explain this a little bit more for people who listen, then you stand up, you shake it off, because when you stand up, you are in your conscious mind. When you sit down, you are in your subconscious mind. So then you sit on the second chair and you say, I now take on the part of me that is the opposite, or that has resistance to the angry part. And then you sit on the other chair, and then you embody this other part. And I feel like if you know what kind of questions to ask, and I would like to share some of them that I usually ask on my sessions, then it becomes quite easy. Because the thing with parts work is usually the inner conflict and inner resistance comes up when some parts don't have full awareness or full picture of what's going on. So, for example, one part might not see the value of the other part in your whole being, right? So, for let's say for a super happy part who just wants to feel good and nothing else, the part who is sad might be like, what's the value of this part? What's the role? Like, it doesn't make sense. It's just dragging me down. It just makes me feel whatever, like shit, right? And so, if you can navigate that, these parts actually discover, first of all, that they want the same for you as a whole, or for the client as a whole, and second of all, that they see each other's values, then the conflict can be much easier resolved. And so, for example, I feel like the questions that you can ask is like, what is your role for this person as a whole? What are your needs? What are your desires? How do you feel, of course? And then also, how old are you? What's your name? Just to discover more about the part. But I feel like the crucial thing is like the role and the need and the feeling. These three things. Because if the other part that you resolve the conflict with sees the role and the value and the need, and all these emotions are expressed rather than suppressed in our subconscious, then it's so easy to see for the other part. It's like, oh my god, I didn't know that this part felt like this, and now that this part is expressing it and is vulnerable, I actually don't resist it anymore that much, or I can actually understand it more, because now I understand their needs, their desires, their roles, their values, right? And so it's easier resolved, I think. So I hope that my monologue here made it a little bit like easier for you to now be more excited about this, because I am so excited about parts work every time I do it, because you can really discover so much about yourself. So I hope that my intention is to help you
No,
remove
no,
resistance to it fully.
you're perfect. You perfectly explained it. I know all of that, but like you said, sometimes yeah, I wish, because I don't know if you know about human design or not. I'm a reflector in my profile, and it's very important for me to have somebody to reflect. You're a reflector too?
No, but literally yesterday I had a podcast of human design, and I was so just amazed by the reflectors. And even the lady that I was speaking to, she was saying, I only know one reflector, because they only are 1% of the whole population. And so I'm so excited to meet you as a reflector. Oh my god, I don't know if I know any reflectors and anymore, because I haven't actually checked the human design. I'm a newbie in human design, but I know that the reflector is someone who
Uh-huh.
was.
What's your
I'm
profile?
a manifestor generator.
Okay, of course you are like,
Yes,
ooh,
I'm
strong woman.
very strong energy. Yes, but yeah, I'm really curious about about the reflector, because I haven't really met many of them, or maybe I have and I don't know, because I don't know everyone's profile. So what could you share with us, especially to people who follow all my podcasts, and it's exciting to talk about the reflectors on one podcast and then continue the conversation on another. So what can you tell as a reflector? What do you see in yourself as this reflector type? Like, how do you navigate interactions with others? Because from what I understand is the reflector is someone who has this kind of aura or energy that like takes has all the centers like receptive to the environment, right? All your chakras are taking the energy from the
Mm-hmm.
environment. So how, first of all, how do you navigate that, and what is different that you see in you as a reflector in comparison to other people and other types?
I don't really know much about human design myself either, but like I feel a lot that people put a lot of labels on me, who I am, you know. And for me to see something about myself, it's good to see somebody else in front of me as well, like to talk to somebody. Like for example, for parts work, it's easy for me to do it with the other person than just to do it on my own, or it's easy for me to do parts work for other person than just to do it just for myself and like sit in different chairs, because so much stuff going on, in my mind.
Hmm. I understand that. And
Yeah.
this lady was saying that we are like, the reflectors are meant to amplify other people, right? So for you it's like they're meant to
Uh-huh.
take someone's energy and then amplify it and give it back. So it's super important for the reflector to actually select the people that they are meeting, because they are so easily affected by them. Do you feel like that's true?
For sure, yes. I feel like I always say something or do something. I always like find something to like point out in other people. And sometimes if if they don't like to go in there, they would be like very defensive, or they would not be very welcoming, or they would be like, something that like if they're into self development, they would be happy about it. If they're not, they would not be happy about it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have a feeling that Bethany, the human design expert that I was speaking to, she would love that we are talking about human design right now, because it's just so interconnected. But yeah, it's
Hmm.
interesting for me, because I'm fresh in this topic, but it seems like it's really on point, this human design. So I can relate to that as well, because sometimes it's easier to have someone like guide you, and also in shadow work, in the inner child and trauma healing, it's way easier to go deep into the feeling if there is someone holding space for you, rather than just being there with yourself. Because sometimes we might feel that it's so scary to feel this feeling, right, that it might not be as easy for us to drop in fully into the very bottom of our feeling. And that's the point in this kind of work, to go as deeply as you possibly can into the feeling, right? So sometimes we might feel like it's not that easy for us, because if someone is not holding space for us, it's like you go a little bit into the feeling, and then, oh, okay, I already felt it, that's already done, I already, I'm sorted, I don't have to go deeper. But you actually do. So I also found that sometimes I have this kind of traumas that I prefer my friends, or I did it with my ex-partner, he was guiding me through processes, or I find a friend who also is a coach, and sometimes I prefer also to do it with someone else. So I can totally relate to you. Even though I'm a manifesting generator, I still like someone else to hold space for me, because it's just easier when you have this presence of someone to go deep, right? um so yeah, I can
Yeah.
totally relate to what you're saying. So how does Cacao integrate with all the work that
Uh,
you do? Do you sometimes use cacao medicine to actually amplify shadow work?
yeah, for sure. Because like I'm a big fan of Guatemalan cacao specifically. I've tried Peruvian one. I've tried Costa Rican. I love all of them, but I think here in Guatemala it's like the best cacao for me, at least. And yeah, it's definitely it definitely helps people to go deeper, because cacao is very, it's a stimulating like beverage or stimulating medicine, but at the same time it's always relaxing, and like it's embodiment medicine, I feel like. So with the cacao you can go deeper into your feelings because you're more in your body, or you can have a deeper meditation because you're in your body, or you can go and, like, for example, take a yoga class, or go dancing, and it will be um, much easier for you to just move and not be in your mind, and all of these minerals and different components of cacao that relax your muscles, like theobromine that opens up your heart and stimulates your blood flow. All of that stuff, it's perfect for inner work, for sure.
And how did you start your journey with cacao as medicine?
I went to, I think I went to like a meditation course here in Guatemala for a month, and we had a cacao ceremony around the fire with a Mayan man who introduced us to Mayan cosmology. And I tried cacao for the first time, and it was great because I love chocolate all my life. So what not to like when the cacao is being given to you? So that was the first time I tried cacao, and since then, yes, it's been like almost every day I would drink it, or yeah, I would just eat the beans if I have those. Yeah, I'm just totally addicted, I think, because it's became a part of my life since 2019.
That's amazing. And did you have a chance to meet some
Yeah.
shamans that work with cacao as well?
Yes, here at the lake we have a cacao shaman. He calls himself that way. His name is Keith Wilson, and he has his own brand of cacao called Keith's Cacao. And it's one of my favorite because it's very high on theobromine and super, super low on caffeine. Cacao does have caffeine, but like maybe 40% less than coffee does. So that was my first encounter with cacao shaman, Keith. But such thing as cacao ceremony is not something that Mayan culture has. Cacao used to be used in ceremonies, like to how to say, to be given to the fire, or to share around the fire. But as a ceremonial drink, it's not used in Mayan culture. It's only Western people decided to make into a ceremony.
Oh, I didn't know
So there
that.
is not like a particular shamans, cacao shamans, yeah. But Keith, in particular, he refers himself to shamans because he's been working with cacao maybe for, I don't know, 40 years or something like that. Um, he's already, I don't know, quite old man, and he selects his beans in a particular way, vibrationally somehow, and nobody knows the process. So he calls himself a cacao shaman. That's the only one I met.
That's interesting. But yeah, it has to be a craft, right? When you do it for such a long time, you're really selective and you probably tried so many different types of cacao
See.
that then I'm not surprised that he is so just like, selective of the cacao that he drinks. That's awesome. And so do you feel like people actually misuse the cacao medicine in a way, like because they treat it more like, oh, let's have a cacao, oh, let's have a coffee, or just like without bringing this spirituality and a ceremonial vibe to it?
I don't think so, because, like, you still get a lot of benefits of properties of cacao itself as a plant when you drink it. So, and like I'm at the point of my life where I'm a little bit tired from ceremonies in general. So I do have cacao, and I just can, like, put it in tension for my day. For example, when I have my cacao cup, it doesn't need to be something specific. Maybe it's just something that you drink to honor your physical body, and because you love yourself you have cacao, because it's good for your body. So I don't think it's misuse, and people love chocolate, so if it makes them happy drinking cacao, so I think it's also a good thing to do, not without ceremony.
Hmm. Yes, I agree that it's always a good thing to do, to eat like a legit healthy chocolate or drink a legit cacao, because I'm a chocolate lover as well. Like if you take away all the food that I eat but leave me chocolate, I'm happy. Like chocolate, if I had to choose one food that I eat till the end of my days and no other food is existent, it's gonna be chocolate. So for me, I can totally relate to that, and I agree that it's beautiful to eat it, and it's beautiful if it makes us happy. But I also have this perspective of, for example, cannabis as the medicine. Like if you actually make a ceremony out of it and you set intention, at least, because it doesn't have to be full on few hours ceremony, it could be just an intention and connection to the plant before you do it. Then the effect
Yeah.
of this, let's say, celebration can be way bigger than something if you just like have it recreationally, right? So that's why I'm asking, because to me, I found that many people who have tried, for example, yeah, weed as medicine or even mushrooms or other things, at least with me, if we did it in like a spiritual way, connecting to the medicine and really dropping into our body and connecting to our soul, then the effect and even the journey of what this plant has given us was completely different. So I feel like intentionality is like the direction of energy. So to me, I feel it's really important to always have an intention before you drink something or eat something or whatever it is. Even if you have dinner, it's nice to have an intention that this dinner is going to nurture your body and be so healthy and whatever. So that's why I'm asking, because to me, I feel like it's important personally, it's just my perspective, to be intentional with everything you do. So also with drinking cacao, with the respect to the medicine, to just really connect to the plant and have an intention before you drink it, and actually ground yourself and connect to your
Yeah,
soul.
I agree with you.
Amazing. So we're on the
Yeah,
same
for
page.
sure.
That's awesome. And so you're also a meditation guide and a yogi, and you do breath work. So I'm curious to know, what's your favorite type of meditation? Because there are many of them. So what meditation has shifted your life the most?
I think I really, really love just the meditation that connects me with my body. Like I went to Vipassana meditation, and then I think the shift for me has happened after I went to a silent retreat for 30 days. It wasn't like Vipassana meditation, but it did start to open up stuff for me that has not been I was not aware about. So I think I really love to scan the body and find something uncomfortable and sit with it, like because if you do completion process or you do shadow work, it's the same thing. You have to find that in your body. So I cannot just go concentrate on something else, because I think that's where the answers are, in our body, because they are connected to our feelings connected to our thoughts are connected to our beliefs, and all of that. So for me, the best meditation is to be in the body. And sometimes, like, I also teach yoga, but used to be this like very fast paced yoga, mostly oriented on completing all the cycles of yoga poses and stuff. But now it's more about, like, how do I feel with every single little part of my bone, like on my spine, or how do I feel when I concentrate on this part of my body, and how do my how do I feel when I fall down in a forward fold and stand there for 3 minutes, like, what does my lower back feel like all of this very slow practices, because I think an embodiment is the most important thing for all of us humans. We're so much in the head, that embodiment brings us back to our center and our core.
Hmm. Yes, and I couldn't agree more with that. And even now, like fast forward maybe 1.5 years since I started my journey with yoga more and more, because before I was just like, yoga, it's kind of uncomfortable, I don't really want to do that. But now I have such an awareness of my body when I started doing it 2 or 3 times a week consistently, that now I know, okay, this is how I need to sit, this is how I need to move for these parts of my body to be unlocked. And so I totally agree that embodiment is one of the most important things in life, really. But for all these people who maybe haven't had that much of an experience with embodiment, what would be the tip that you give them to start the journey?
I feel the best thing is to with every opportunity that they have, to check in how they feel inside. For example, like set a timer on their phone, and that can ring maybe every 15 minutes or often if they want. And just like if they sit at the computer, just like close the eyes and check in, what is this going on in my body, what kind of feeling I'm feeling right now. My second favorite is like going outside and stepping with the bare feet on the grass, and just like connecting to the earth through the feet, or also visualizing the lights coming through the feet into the body from the earth through the whole body up into the crown, like just connecting to the earth. And also like, yeah, eating more green foods, eating more vegetables, being more on the sun, taking baths. I love taking baths. That's also a very good embodiment practice, relaxing into your body. Yeah, anything that is connected to nature, I think that's an amazing embodiment practice.
Mm-hmm.
Playing with the dog or a cat, and just like observing how connected they are in their lives.
Yes, just seeing animals in their natural habitat, that's like super grounding and super embodying, I guess. Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I feel like, yeah, if I imagine myself, even stepping on earth, that just grounds me, that just opens my first chakra, my root chakra. And so anything that is connected to root chakra is linked to our physical embodiment. So I feel like even using oils or crystals or anything that opens your root chakra, or foods that are like root foods, for example, right? All these foods would help us
Yeah.
ground and be in our body even more. That's amazing. Thank you so much. And so I would love to actually, if we already started a little bit the topic of Teal Zone, I'm curious to know, do you have any favorite topic or favorite video of Teal that you would like to talk about?
Mm, uh, I don't know. I love all of them. Let me
Me
see.
too. I know it's hard to choose.
It's hard to choose. Um, I recently started watching a lot of like synchronization workshops, and one of them was, I think, in Stockholm. I think that was my favorite of all of the workshop that she held, and she talked there about attachment styles,
Hmm.
and I think that was like, yeah, that really resonates with me, and and how I behave in my relationships sometimes, and I see this, and the explanation why I feel this way, why I behave this way. It was like interesting, and a very strong message at the same time, and now you're like, oh, another thing I have to deal with, so I think I really love when she talks about relationships, like the last video she had about narcissist and codependency, also love. Yeah, relationships stuff that she talks about are my favorite. I'm not such so into like what she talks about chakras, but I've seen them all anyways, or when she talks about like something. more outside of this world
Mm-hmm.
things, but I really love when she talks about things that I can relate to and I can really observe, like relationships, of course, are my favorite topic
Mm-hmm. And
when she
and
talks
so
about it.
with this
Yeah.
topic of attachment styles, I only touched upon it a bit, but I know that there's anxious and avoidant, and mixed, like anxious and avoidant, and then you have secure, right? So you have four attachment styles. So which one do you have?
I think I have this disorganized,
Disorganized,
the one that,
mixed.
yeah, the mixed. You call it mixed,
Yeah,
yeah.
I know that
Uh-huh.
it's disorganized, but I'm not an expert on it, so I'm just saying mixed. So, what can you tell us about disorganized attachment style?
Okay, so she was explaining this style when she was in Stockholm, and there is a Stockholm syndrome when you miss your abuser, for example, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's created in a families where a parent is abusive in some way, like maybe emotionally or physically. But emotional abuse is actually worse than physical abuse. Just a note. And you, because you dependent on that person, on your family member, but also you have an energy of wanted to get away. You have this opposite things in your body, you want to be close, but at the same time you want to run away. So that's how I feel when I get close to someone in my relationships, like to a partner. And I think people also with this style, they also experience enmeshment trauma at the same time, which is you don't have your own personality. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I discovered that I was completely like my mom. So I always afraid to lose myself in relationships with other people. Like if I get too close, I'm gonna not know who I am anymore. I'm just gonna do what they like to do. I'm gonna listen to the music they like to listen, eat what they like to eat, all of that stuff. So this fear of dissolving again in somebody else is pushing me away, but I also want closeness with other people.
Mm-hmm. And how to deal with
So it's
it?
kind of how to deal with it. I think to start to really feel into what you actually want. Like people who have enmeshment style and codependent style, all of the toxic relationships, attachment styles, they don't have boundaries. And maybe that's my favorite video about boundaries. So maybe that what I do is feeling into what you really want, whether you're aligned with the situation or if there is something else that you want and afraid to say, and honoring your boundaries, honoring your desires, and not being afraid to speak about them, and not being afraid to say to your partner that you need space, for example, today, or you're tired, and or you even wanna sleep in a separate bedrooms. All of these things, like getting it you to your desires so much and not being afraid to speak about them, that probably creates more safe space for you to be next to other person and not being afraid to enmesh again, like mixed up again, and also be around and not run away.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and I agree with that. And I feel like it also helps when the other person that you're with has the awareness of your enmeshment trauma, because then they can be also aware together with you of like, hey, do you need space? Do you actually want it? They can ask you questions. And so choosing the right relationships, I feel, is also a good way to go, because then if you can authentically express, like, hey, I actually had this kind of trauma, I was codependent, but I also want to run away, then this other person can also hold you in this and help you move through it. And so I want to just come back for a moment to explain these other attachment styles, because I feel like I would be more of a anxious attachment style, although I don't feel that anxious anymore. But in the past, if I look at my relationships, I would be quite codependent. And like recently I've been working so much on it that I feel like now I'm quite a autonomous woman. But yeah, in the past I would feel like I need connection so much that it would make me feel unsafe if there is no connection, also because of the abandonment wound from childhood. And the avoidant is the one that escapes, right? Is the one that like runs away from the problem. I would say, and this is the most triggering situation when you have two people, and one has the anxious attachment style, the other one has the avoidant attachment style, and then it just triggers the shit out of each other because their needs are the opposite. And I've had it happen with people that I've been meeting or dating or whatever before, and it's just like, oh my god, it's like the worst thing ever. But you can also really learn from it and really get conscious of your traumas when you are in a relationship, or some kind of relation to the someone who has the opposite trauma, right? Because then it's like trigger on the trigger, but then you can actually go deep and heal it. And the secure attachment is when someone doesn't actually need anything, right? Like, I mean, they are not avoidant, they are not anxious, they are just like cool with anything. That's what I understand, right?
Yeah, I don't think those people exist. Maybe when we integrate our unhealthy attachment styles, then maybe we can come back to a secure one. But yeah, but also it's amazing how usually the opposite attachment styles meet together. You know, the people who have anxious and who have avoidant, they always meet together to trigger each other, like you said,
Yes.
to show each other the traumas.
Yes. Then we can
Yeah.
heal as fast as possible, because it's just such an opposite force. And I feel like for the anxious attachment style people, it's, learning how to give someone else space without feeling like you're not loved when you're disconnected. And for the avoidant ones, it's like how to actually stay connected and communicate. And if you need your time, how to still make this other person feel loved and valued, even though you need your space and disconnect. So it's beautiful work that we are doing. We are all healing. We're all on our healing journey. So I think it's actually really cool that we can trigger each other.
For sure, I feel that the journey of healing for like the whole humanity would be so much faster if people just didn't were not afraid to look into themselves and accept what's happening and be authentic and share what was happening. But I think that's the main like barrier of all of us, just to like get on the next level in very short time. But I feel like a lot of people are getting there, and a lot more people are self-aware now. So hopefully, we're going to be in a new planet and a new vibration soon.
Yes, let's manifest it all. Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you so much for this conversation. And I have one last quick question. Where could people find you if they really resonate with you and they would like to know more about you?
Um, I think it mainly is Instagram at prana underscore Yana. They can find me. They can message me. If they want to ask something, if they want to receive a free session like completion process or inner child session, if they like me, we can work more. I also starting my new brand of cacao soon. I'm bringing a lot of it to the States. So if anybody wants some cacaucito, I also shipping it in all parts of the world. Just let me know. Um, yeah, just Instagram, I think, is the best way to reach me.
Perfect. That's exciting with the cacao, bringing the medicine to the States. That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your energy with us.
Yeah,
And yeah, wish you good luck with spreading your cacao business even more because people need this medicine. So thank you so much for all the work that you're doing.
for sure. Thank you, Karolina, for having me. It was amazing meeting you, and I also enjoyed our conversation a lot. I hope we will keep in touch.
Yes. Thank you so much, beautiful souls, for listening to us. And it's been such a great conversation. I hope that you liked it too. And I just want to remind you that we are in the process of creating the directory of all these healers and coaches that I've been speaking to on the podcast. So stay tuned to know when that's live. And I wish you a beautiful, beautiful day.